the exclusion zone of Chernobyl. After a second incident in 2006, the area was sealed off by the military and reports of mutated creatures that were sighted on the border increased, as well as deadly anomalies that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. There should be no sane person who wants to voluntarily enter the zone, as the area was called now, yet over the years hundreds of people have snuck by the military posts. And why? To recover artifacts that only exist here. These artifacts are created inside the deadly anomalies and have a wide variety of powers. For example, they can suck the radiation out of a body like a sponge the water, or the wearer's healing ability accelerates to such an extent that you can watch wounds close. These artifacts are sold to the outside world for a lot of money through smugglers and traders. Here, 6 years later, in May 2012, Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl takes place. During a stormy night, a truck drives through the zone with dead bodies in the back and has an accident. The next morning, an unknown stalker plunders the truck and finds a survivor. He takes the survivor to the local trader Sidorovich, where he wakes up and you can read an order on his PDA: kill Strelok. The survivor has an amnesia and is called the Marked One because of the tattoo on his forearm. The only connection the Marked One has to his past is this person called Strelok that he is supposed to kill, but the image of him in his PDA makes him doubt if he even knows him. However, he doesn't have much time to think because of the rescue he's indebted to Sidorovich and has to do a mission for him. Without much of a choice, the Marked One sets out to do this mission. He's supposed to get a hard drive of a stalker who was attacked and captured by bandits nearby. He leaves the bunker and the surroundings seem familiar to him, even if he can't remember anything else. Damn it, it's all a haze now. I remember a car. They drove me somewhere for a long time and my whole body hurt. There was darkness. What happened before that? I have no idea. So confused. Now this fat guy calls me the Marked One because of the strange tattoo on my arm. And then there's this weird mission to kill some guy called Strelok on my PDA. Is it even my PDA? Looking at Strelok's photo, I'm not even sure if I knew him or not. Damn it, it's all like a bad dream and you can't wake up from. What to do? Where to go? And worst of all, who am I? Okay, calm down, control yourself. The first thing I'll have to do is do some jobs for this Sidorovich. He claims to have saved my life after all. That shouldn't be too bad. I'll take a walk, calm myself down, and perhaps my head will be clearer. The small village he's in is located near the border of the zone and is the first location newcomers get to when they just made it into the zone. The Marked One speaks to the local leader called Wolf and receives information about the bandits who have caught Nimble, the stalker with the hard drive. On the way to the bandits' base, the Marked One finds a wounded stalker named Tolik. He and Nimble are the only survivors of a small group that were sent on a reconnaissance mission to the Agroprom Research Institute. The Marked One joins a small group of Wolf scouts and frees Nimble from the bandits. He gives him the hard drive with the results of the reconnaissance mission in Agroprom. These informations seem to be so important that most of it is encrypted. The Marked One brings the hard drive back to Sidorovich, which means they are even now. However, Sidorovich has a great interest in a further cooperation. This Strelok has found a way into the center of the zone, something that was previously impossible. An area where your brain starts to melt prevents anyone from venturing north and recovering the artifacts there. That's why the traders band together and now look for a way to open a route to the north. Thus, both the traders and the Marked One have a common interest in finding Strelok, and they make a deal. Sidorovich tries to find out as much about Strelok as he can, and the Marked One helps with the research of the traders. So, I'm going on my first deep raid into the zone. The target is the Agroprom Research Institute. I need to recover some documents belonging to a military expedition. Apart from the mission, the trader gave me some information about an area to the north, on the way to the zone's center, where the brains boil. Probably more of a legend than a fact, but since there's clearly something wrong with my head, I probably should take a look at it and talk to some people. You never know. Maybe I've been there before. Also, the trader told me that Strelok discovered a way to get through the area, and the traders want to know it. Their reasons are clear. They want to access untouched artifact fields. Well, I'm going to help them, I guess. The first destination for the marked one is the Agroprom Research Institute. Nimble's group has been spying on the military there, and they seem to have found out something. Sidorovich is sure that it has something to do with the center of the zone, and the marked one should go there and get the military documents about their findings. He heads north, and just before the garbage dump, which he has to cross to get to the Agroprom Research Institute, he meets a stalker named Fox. Through Sidorovich's contacts, the marked one knows that Fox might know something about Strelok. Unfortunately, he has no information about Strelok himself, but he points the marked one in the direction of the garbage dump to a stalker named Sari. As soon as he got there, the marked one witnesses how 3 bandits rob a stalker, and just few meters further, some stalkers ask him to repel an attack of the bandits on the vehicle graveyard. Garbage has always been an area swarming with bandits, and an attack by them on the hangar where Sari is confirms this again.
Anyone who can hear me, we've been attacked by a gang of bandits. We need help. Brothers, help us, we're in deep shit. Bandits have gone mad. Is there anyone nearby, damn it? We're dead meat.
Once the attack has been repelled, the marked one and Sari can have a conversation, and this time something divisive comes out of it. A stalker known as Mole found Strelok's hideout in the Agroprom underground, so the marked one heads towards Agroprom to meet up with Mole. Once there, a stalker asks the marked one to repel an attack by the military who are targeting Mole's stalker group. Although they have suffered some losses, Mole himself has survived, and he leads the marked one to the entrance to the Agroprom underground and gives him the directions to Strelok's hideout. In a crack in the wall, hidden behind a map, there is a hard drive with some entries. Received from Ghost. Strelok, I have some shitty news. Fang died. They were waiting for us in the village by the warehouses, and I think they were waiting a long time. 3 of them. Seems like your average neutrals. Fang sensed them somehow. You know full well he has a good sense. We ran 2 of them down, clearly bandits, but the 3rd turned out smarter than his buddies. He was sitting with a Vintoress about 100 meters away. Anyway, there's no more Fang. So next time we'll go to the center together, just the 2 of us. And here's another thing. Those 2 had our descriptions. I can't figure out who would want us killed, although actually there are quite a few who have something against us. I let the 3rd one get away. I think it was one of the mercs. Had a big scar on his head, hazel eyes. I'll try to find him. So that's the deal. Keep an eye out and good luck. Ghost. To Ghost. Hey there, buddy. Leaving you some info. Won't try to get connected. Noticed someone following me. Dude, I went north where we were. Will try to make it through solo. Sorry, but had no time to wait for you. Will explain later. And that freak that killed Fang will get sorry he was ever born. I'll cut him to fucking pieces. You find out who he is, and I'll be back soon. We'll have it out with him. We are meeting at our mutual friend's place. You know who and where. Good luck. Strelok. To Strelok. Hey, came. You weren't there. You shouldn't have gone to the center alone. But no big deal. I know where and with whom to find you. Ghost. From the entries he learns that Strelok is part of a small group of 3 people. Fang, who already died in an ambush, and Ghost, who is the best lead so far to find Strelok. Strelok himself could be somewhere in the north, and a mutual friend is also mentioned, but there's no more information about this person. With this new lead, the Marked One sets out to get the documents from the Research Institute. Through a passage in the Agroprom underground, he sneaks through the base at night and steals the military documents, which he immediately brings to the innkeeper of the 100 Red, the largest stalker bar throughout the zone. On the way there, he meets the Duty faction, who have a base in the bar area and defend it against the dangers of the zone. The Marked One gives the documents to the innkeeper. Investigation report. For official use only. To SBU Colonel V.M. Khrushchelnikov, head of Project Truth. From Captain D.F. Maximienko, commander of Search 2. Memo. Our group, consisting of 3 investigators and a squad of SBU Special Forces, conducted search at Agroprom, the former Research Institute for Agriculture and Radiation-Affected Soil, from 12 May 2012 to 25 May 2012. Most of the equipment and documentation was missing, however the few things we were able to find allow us to come to the following conclusion. Over the period from 2005 to 2008, the Institute did not conduct any research in its official fields of study. All the results of its work sent to the Ministry of Agriculture were falsified. Simultaneously, the Institute's management, specifically Peter Danilovich Strych, continued to receive state financing, equipment and consumables and transferred them to a laboratory designated X18 using forged consignment notes which provided cover for the operation by indicating that the materials were being transferred to an auxiliary facility for experiments. X18 appears to be a codename adopted by the group of people implicated in this affair, since our database contains no mention of this laboratory. Judging by the analysis of the documents we found, this laboratory is located within an hour's drive from the Institute. It is likely to be a clandestine facility, so I would request the involvement of our analytic department. The lab's field of research is not clear and available documents contain no helpful information in this regard, but do make references to the infamous Professor Chupko and also mention some group. It is my firm belief that we have come to the end of the line and the analytical department will now have plenty of work to do. With the help of the documents, the innkeeper can determine that Lab X18 is probably located in the underground vaults located in the Dark Valley. These underground vaults are inaccessible because you need 2 passwords to open an electronic door. The innkeeper has one, but the other is held by the leader of the bandits in the Dark Valley. The Marked One makes his way there and finds a scout of duty, who were recently sent to scout out the bandit activities. The duty guy asks a wounded bandit about his captured friend and then asks Marked One for help to free him. They ambush the bandits and free the duty soldier. In the bandits' camp, the Marked One takes the second code from the leader of the bandits, Borrow, and then goes into the underground vaults under a nearby construction site. Arriving in Lab X18, there are multiple corpses, not only from stalkers who explored this location, but also from scientists. The lower levels are again secured by doors, for which codes are needed, and as soon as the Marked One reaches the deeper parts of the lab, things suddenly start to fly towards him, seemingly on their own. Invisible flying mutants with telekinetic powers attack him and he has to fight his way to the main laboratories. Once there, a bizarre sight presents itself. Lifeless fetuses or baby-like mutants contained in glass tubes. The search for documents is successful, but before he can leave the laboratory, he faints.
Streloks!
A hooded figure stands in front of the Chernobyl power plant and fends off a crowd of rats. When the name Strelok falls, the figure turns around, but before his face can be seen, the Marked One wakes up, just as the military storms the lab. He flees outside and has to escape the military via a road in the south. As soon as that is done, he heads back towards the bar area and hands over the research documents from X-18 to the innkeeper. From the documents and informations, it is learned that in Lab X-18, research was carried out on test subjects by exposing them to psi emissions. It's like they were having their brains fried. The device is called a Kaimanov emitter and suggests that the brain melter in the north of the zone is not of natural origin. Components for this emitter were not only researched but also built in X-18 and delivered to a Lab X-16, which is said to be located under the production complex at Lake Yantar. Scientists have set up a mobile laboratory there to research the nearby emissions emanating from the complex. Maybe they can help. On the way to Lake Yantar, the Marked One runs into a group of mercenaries who open fire on him. The reason for this becomes clear a short time later. The mercenaries attack a group of scientists and don't want any uninvited guests. The mercenaries are well equipped and even manage to down a military helicopter that was trying to come to the aid of the scientists. They ask the Marked One for help over the radio and he answers. The scientists suffer heavy losses, but the Marked One manages to kill the leader of the mercenaries and keeps Professor Kruglov safe, who can give information about the Brainscorcherer as a thank you for his rescue. As it turns out, the emissions affected primarily the advanced spheres of cognitive activity. Experiments show that only humans and animals with developed cognitive processes such as dogs and horses are susceptible to these emissions. Judging by this evidence, it would be reasonable to conclude that the emissions are geared specifically towards the human brain. Extensive studies on volunteers have shown that subjects will leave the trance state if given medical treatment. We also developed experimental devices that will protect, to a certain extent, the human brain from these emissions. According to our calculations, the source of these emissions is located in the center of Lake Yantar. The source itself is likely to be artificial in nature, which means that it can be disabled. There's also the danger of criminals attempting to reach the source of the emissions and gaining control over it. The research relates to the emission source in Lake Yantar, but thanks to the information from X-18, it can be assumed that both the Brainscorcherer and the source of the emissions in Yantar coming from Kaimanov emitters. As soon as they have left their pursuers behind, you can already see the first indications that they are getting close to Lake Yantar. Zombies. The Marked One reaches the scientist's mobile laboratory, and the leading Professor Sakharov thanks him for Kruglov's rescue. They talk about X-16 and that the scientists have a great interest in researching the mechanism that emits the psi emissions. The Marked One cannot get close to Lab X-16, however, because if he would try, the emissions would turn him into a zombie, like many others. Luckily, the scientists have been working on a psionic armor for some time and just missing some final data to calibrate it. The Marked One is willing to carry out the field tests to obtain the necessary data and is carrying out these tests together with Kruglov at several points in Lake Yantar. At this point, there is a strong psionic emission, but the two survive. The Marked One was just able to escape to a nearby bus, was knocked out, and had a vision of a conversation between two people.
Shit! Imminent blowout! Run, Marked One! Hell is about to break loose! Ah!
Frank, we can't just leave him like that.
Just leave him. There is nothing we can do for him. The blowout is minutes away and we want to get through with him.
No, Frank, I'm not leaving him.
Kruglov was a little less lucky and lays on the ground injured, but both make it back to the mobile lab. With the new data, the prototype of the Psi armor could be fine calibrated and the Mark I has enough protection to get into the facility. However, the protection does not last forever and the emitter must be switched off as quickly as possible once he's in the laboratory. Now he just needs to know where the entrance to X-16 is. Sakharov tells the Mark I that he should look for the corpse of the scientist Vasilyev. This one broke into the laboratory some time ago with a stalker named Ghost, but contact was lost and the last signal that could be received came from the swarms. So Vasilyev has the necessary information about the laboratory entrance and maybe even something about the emitter itself, but it is also important that the Mark I now knows where Ghost is. He locates Vasilyev's body and listens to his last entries.
We've got all the papers. We know how to deactivate the source of the emission. Proceeding to dig into the lab with Ghost. Zombies coming out of everywhere. It's all screwed up. Ghost has gone insane. He must have been affected by the emissions. I've dropped everything, trying to get out through the tunnels. I'm at the swamp, but where's the bunker? Shit. I can't make out my whereabouts. No response from Sakharov. What's going on? Zombies everywhere. I'm running out of ammo.
So, here I am, just one step away from one of Streloks' men. Ghost went to the underground lab X-16 with one of the scientists. There's only one but. I'm not likely to find him alive. The scientist was coming back from there alone and was killed when approaching the camp. The scientists gave me some kind of device to protect me against these obscure emissions. I hope it works. They want me to get inside and unplug the emitter. Then they will be able to study it on site. God help me. Now knowing where the entrance is, the Mark I sets out to enter Lab X-16.
Great job, Mark I. You've actually made it to the lab. It is vital that we study the installation in the lab. Try to deactivate it so we can examine it properly. Listen, the prototype can't protect you from the strong emission forever. I've provided for this. When you get hit by a strong field, the timer will start ticking. As soon as the time runs out, the prototype will stop protecting you. So take care. And remember about the timer.
He fights his way through the underground complex full of zombies and snorks, and finally reaches the emitter, which looks like a giant brain in a glass tank. As the professor already warned, the emissions around the emitter are so strong that the Psi protection timer starts, but the Mark I manages to turn it off in time. As soon as this happens, he faints.
If this is so important, why didn't you explain what you are going there for? And where did you get this photo from?
If you only knew where I've just been and what I saw.
One day you'll finish badly, Streloks. Hold on, son. You're going to make it. Where will you go now?
To the north.
He wakes up and finds a controller not far away and a corpse next to it.
Where the hell are you, Strelok? Damn. And Doc's gone, I could really do with her help right now. When I get back from the mission, I'm gonna find the guide at the perimeter. He goes there a lot. And he may help me find Doc. And if Strelok's still alive, Doc will know for sure where to find him.
Anyway, that's for later. And now I'm all alone. On this stinking underground mission. Vasiliev doesn't count. He's just a burden which I'll have to protect. Vasiliev lost it at the very last moment. And when the door opened, he ran off instead of deactivating the lower consoles. I shouldn't have relied on him. Strelok was right to mistrust those lying dogs. My only chance is to get to the door before the controller. Vasiliev lost it at the very last moment, and when the door opened, he ran off instead of deactivating the lower consoles. I shouldn't have relied on him. Strelok was right to mistrust those lying dogs. My only chance is to get to the door before the controller.
It's Ghost, the man in the photo in his PDA, and he has some interesting information on him. I'm shocked. Ghost is the same person as the man in the photo from the file attached to the mission to kill Strelok. I'm thoroughly confused. There must have been some mistake. But who made the mistake? There's no answer yet. From Ghost's records, I learned the name of their mutual acquaintance, the fourth man in Strelok's group, Dr. He has been helping the group for a long time, playing the role of their headquarters. He can be found through a stalker by the name of Guide, who frequents the Gordon. Alright, Guide, just don't go dying all of a sudden. Before we meet, anyhow. On Ghost's dead body, I also found documents regarding the Psy-Brain mechanism. The whole neighborhood was under the influence of that piece of shit. It zombified everyone who came within range. I learned that there is another mechanism in Lab X-19, and that's what is likely to be the Brainscorcherer. I also learned that these mechanisms are not always operating at full strength. There are periods when their power is lowered to cool down the apparatus. He pockets the documents that Ghost has with him and leaves the building via the sewer system. When he got outside, he sees a military helicopter that clears the area of zombies. And with Ghost's new information, the Marked One has a new lead. He delivers the documents again to the innkeeper of the 100 Red and would be ready to head north and switch off the Brainscorcherer. But with the knowledge that a certain stalker can point him to the fourth member of Strelok's group, Doctor, the Marked One heads back south. In the Cordon, where Fox gave him the first clue to find Strelok, is a stalker named Guide. He says that the Doctor is currently at Strelok's hideout, and the Marked One immediately heads there. He goes back into the Agroprom underground, climbs up the ladder to the hideout again, and...
Strelok. Hey, Strelok! Strelok, come on, man, wake up! Oh, this better. You had me worried. What the hell are you doing, man? Have you lost your memory or something? You were the one who suggested that we take this precaution. Oh well, at least you're still alive. Look, Strelok, we've got no time, so I need you to listen to me. Everything you have said about the monolith is true. All of it. It is just an illusion manufactured in a lab next to the sarcophagus. And nobody who reached the monolith has ever come back. It looks like they have died there. But anyway, while you're away, I dug up some more info. And basically, there is a decoder to open the door which leads to the monolith controls. And this decoder is hidden in a stash in Pripyat. Now I'm going to give you the coordinates of this stash, and I'm giving you the key to open it. I want you to take the decoder, and I want you to find the door in the sarcophagus. And then you'll know what to do. But it seems that this is the only way of uncovering the zone's real secret. This is the one you have been trying to work out, Strelok.
The Marked One is Strelok, and he tried to find out what the secret of the zone is. The monolith, also known as the Wish-Granter, was one of the greatest myths in the zone, but apparently this is just a distraction to prevent stalkers from discovering the zone's true secret. The secret which Strelok and his group tried to find out, but have failed so far. With the new information from the doctor, Strelok heads north to get a decoder in Pripyat that opens a door inside the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. Behind this door should be the laboratory that creates the wish granter and also keeps the secret of the zone. But first, he has to get past the Brainscorcherer. With the scientist's prototype of the Psy protection helmet and the knowledge of when the Brainscorcherer shuts down to cool off and therefore loses power, Strelok has all the information he needs to not only get past it, but also disable it. He heads north to the army warehouses, the territory of the Freedom faction, and at the same time the border of the known part of the zone. At this border, Freedom built an outpost to defend against monoliths. Monoliths, a group of well-equipped fanatics dedicated to prevent anyone from advancing into the center of the zone. Strelok helps to repel an attack by the monoliths on the outpost and then sets out for the Red Forest. There should be the Brainscorcherer, but also countless monoliths who want to stop Strelok. He still manages to get close to the Brainscorcherer, but even with the Psy helmet and the Brainscorcherer in powered down state, it seems to have an effect on Strelok. Shadowy creatures of the zone are moving towards him, which cannot hurt him but are still signs that his psionic protection isn't perfect. Strelok manages to get into the lab under the Brainscorcherer and looks for the controls to turn it off. Strangely, no one tries to stop him here. There are a few bloodsuckers in the large, crumbling underground complex, but otherwise Strelok can access the facility controls and turn off the Brainscorcherer unhindered.
What you want is here, Stalker.
After another feint, which shows that Strelok has already come very close to the wish granter, it seems that exactly this thing is calling Strelok to it. Dozens of monolith fighters are now in the laboratory, and Strelok has to fight his way outside, where everything is in uproar.
This is 056. Absence of radiation confirmed. No large enemy groups detected. Scrofa landed in the Yantar area for reconnaissance. Standing by for further instructions. Over. 065, this is base. Return home. Scrofa, report. Base, this is Scrofa. Minimum resistance. Someone has been here before us. Scrofa, implement quarantine procedures in the Yantar area. Eliminate quarantine violators on site. Base, Roger.
Attention Freedom Squad. The Commander of Duty Task Force speaking. I command you to turn around and get the hell out of here. You have no business in the center of the zone.
Well, get them! What are you, playing a commander here? Now we'll show you who should piss off. Men, let's kick their asses!
Now that the Brainscorcherer has been disabled and the path to the center of the zone has opened, every stalker sets out to get some of the riches that are there. Freedom, duty, mercenaries, loners, everyone is flocking to the center, and even the military seems to have some business there. Once in Pripyat, Strelok joins a group of stalkers who want to break through the monolith defenses. After bitter fighting and an averted ambush in an underground car park, Strelok continues alone and reaches the hideout in the hotel where the decoder is supposed to be. There are also notes that Strelok wrote before his amnesia. The stash contained a short report on how Fang and I infiltrated the underground galleries under the station's sarcophagus and found a suspicious-looking door. Fang said that he would put together a decoder for the electronic lock for our next visit. After that, we had to run for our lives. There were hordes of monolith patrols there. Well, I also found the decoder in the stash and directions for finding the door. However, it seems that approaching the monolith is extremely dangerous. The last time we avoided going under the sarcophagus above the destroyed reactor, and it seems that's where the monolith is. Strelok, Fang and Ghost had already managed to get into the power plant before, and were very close to the secret. Fang and Ghost may be dead now, but with the decoder, Strelok can now open the door that probably hides the secret of the zone. He overcomes the last defenses of the monoliths in Pripyat and heads towards the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. At first, everything seems to be quiet here, but it doesn't take long until the goal of the military operation is revealed. They want to take over the power plant. With helicopters and armored fighting vehicles, they try to push the monoliths back, but the well-equipped fanatics and anomalies in the area ensure that both sides suffer heavy losses, and Strelok has to go through this battlefield. As soon as he reaches the walls of the power plant, the sky changes color and everything trembles. A huge emission builds up and will kill everyone outside in just a few minutes. Strelok makes it into the NPP in time and goes through the underground passages. The Wish Granter speaks to him and calls him
Путь завершен, человек. Иди ко мне.
But Strelok resists the temptation and makes his way to the door he couldn't overcome last time. Monoliths try to stop him again, dozens of fanatics in front and behind the door. But Strelok manages to get to the machine that creates the Wish Granter and destroys its energy sources. Where the hologram of the monolith was previously shown, a scientist can now be seen and reveals to Strelok the secret of the zone. However, this scientist is not a single person or an artificial intelligence. It is a consciousness consisting of several people. In a scientific experiment, 7 volunteers put their consciousness together to create a collective consciousness. With this collective consciousness, the group of scientists wanted to access something called the noosphere, an information field to which all individuals with cognitive skills belong. A single individual is not able to access this information field, but a group of several individuals linked together, such as this C consciousness, can access this field and perhaps even make changes. That was or still is the goal of the group and the C consciousness. They wanted to remove negative emotions such as hatred, anger, cruelty and greed from the noosphere, but the experiment failed. Bad planning led them to create a rift in the noosphere with the experiment, and the zone with all its expectionalities is the physical manifestation of the rift in the noosphere. Since then, the C consciousness has tried to keep this rift under control and prevent the zone from spreading further. Since the scientists were already afraid that the outside world would hinder their work, they tried to carry out their experiments in secret and chose the Chernobyl exclusion zone as the best place to do so. No people lived there anymore, but the infrastructure was still there, which made it much easier to build up everything necessary. But when the experiment went wrong and the zone was created, many people came into the zone in search of the artifacts. With them, the risk of being discovered increased, and they created several defensive measures to prevent this. Kaimanov emitters, monolith soldiers, emissions, and agents of the zone. These agents were brainwashed to eliminate certain people who got too close to discovering the secret of the zone. Strelok was one of these people that had to be eliminated, but for reasons that we learn in Stalker Clear Sky, he was also brainwashed and mistakenly given the order to kill himself. After all this information, Streloks asks what happens next. The sea consciousness suggests that he joins them, since the bodies that are part of the sea consciousness still suffer from natural decay and ultimately die. New people are needed so that the sea consciousness can continue its work and prevent the zone from spreading. But Streloks decides against it. He doesn't want to help them and sets off to the actual location of the sea consciousness to destroy them. He leaves the power plant, where there is a strange silence after a mission has passed. The silence doesn't last long, because on the way through the numerous portals that are scattered on and behind the NPP, the monoliths try to prevent him from advancing towards the sea consciousness. Streloks manages to fight past them again and reaches the place where the sea consciousness is located and destroys it.
I don't know whether I was right or wrong. I guess I'll never know. But I made it. And I guess I should be thankful for that.
He wonders if he made the right decision, but in the end he's just happy that it's finally over. In Stalker Call of Pripyat you can see that the zone has actually become more unstable after the sea consciousness was destroyed, but whether everything Streloks was told is true is highly questionable. Of course, wanting to remove all humanity's negative characteristics sounds very altruistic, but if that really was the goal, can't be said for sure. Such a noble goal can simply be used as a pretext to disguise the actual intentions, because with the power to manipulate humanity's feelings and emotions, they can also do far worse things. And with the way they try to hide themselves from the outside world, they show that they are capable of doing such horrible things. These are just speculations, of course, and it may actually be that the group only has good intentions in mind. Whatever the truth may be, we won't find out about it in Shadow of Chernobyl, but perhaps in another Stalker game.